Well, we've gotten to our area and you might see that there are a few spots, and there is our surprise little Thamba sitting behind the long grass. And I was saying earlier he was being chased, and he was being chased by hyenas, so he was lying somewhere else and the hyenas came in and chased him. Now, no sign of Thandi as yet. There are tracks for her around, but nobody's seen her just yet, so hopefully they will come out. And Thamba seems to be having this habit of hiding behind grass with us. Every time I find him, he's behind some sort of bush or grass or something like that. But it looks like he will come out, and hopefully he's going to come out right in front of us and come lie on the nice sand in the Mulawati itself. So there he comes, slowly but surely. Come, buddy. This has still got to be one of the most beautiful cats. Look at him. Isn't that magnificent? Now he's just crossing between the cars. Unfortunately, there's quite a few photographers, so you might hear a lot of clicking on the other side. That's them taking photos of our beautiful boy as he sneaks around and looks like he's going to go up. Oh, he's a bit wary of these cameras that are going crazy. Now, hopefully he's going to decide to lie somewhere there. It's at least a nice bank that he could potentially lie on. Although, I think in all likelihood he's going to head up towards Twin Dams by the looks of it. Or no, maybe he's going to sit down there. He certainly is an adventurous cat. You find he moves around quite a bit. Even when Thandi leaves him on his own, it's not like he sits still. He moves around and checks things out and goes up and down. And I suppose he's exploring all of these areas. You know, he didn't grow up in this section. He was born a lot further south of us. And so I suppose it's all just about exploring and seeing what's going on and checking these new area. And I believe a lot of you are super excited that it is Thamba. It is really cool to see him. He's such a, like I say, such a beautiful cat, and this young, youthful exuberance is still present, so he moves around quite a bit, and he's quite an entertaining character to follow. So I'm also super excited, and any day spent with Thamba is a good day. Now, I wonder if Thandi isn't somewhere around here. We know that she came to drink at Twin Dams last night. She then went straight back to fetch him and then came straight back here. So I maybe think there might have been a carcass somewhere here, and unfortunately, there we go. You see, there was a carcass here somewhere. Now, unfortunately, I think the hyenas might have stolen it, and that's all that's left. But there must have been a carcass in this area, because that is the stomach content of something. I wonder where Thandi is. Maybe she's dragged it further afield. I'm going to try and see if we can't get up onto the top there, since he is standing up there, and we're going to try and get round. Hopefully he doesn't do what his mother did last night to us, because as I went round into the Mulawati, his mother just disappeared, and it was impossible to find her again. And the pace at which she moves really is quite something when she's on a mission. I'll say just be careful. There's a few little holes here that we might fall into if we're reversing. Now, when reversing in these riverbed systems, the best thing is just to let the tracks guide you. Alarama, you're wondering if Thamba has the beginnings of a dewlap. Now apparently he's come back down with Mulawati. No, not really. There's a thickening of the neck. There is a thickening of that area just because he's bulking up and he's becoming a bigger male, but actually there's no real dewlap just yet. It'll be interesting though to see how his dewlap works and whether or not he does get a really big dewlap like Tingana. So I think everybody was going around until our little boy jumps up into the tree. Now, I wonder if we're actually going to be able to see anything from down here. It's going to be interesting, that's for sure. Where are you, little guy? Oh, there he is. So he's sitting on the lowest branch. Now, I can't see a carcass anywhere inside here. There's obviously that stomach content that we saw, and I wonder if those hyenas didn't just steal something from these leopards this morning, and maybe that's where Thandi's gone, is she went to try and protect the kill and unfortunately lost it and has now moved off. Maybe she's gone towards Twin Dams for a drink and she'll come back just now. There you go, he's sitting in the tree. Maybe there's another hyena on top because he's looking intently down, and the only reason he would have gone up there is if he thought there was a threat or if there was food potentially in that area that he could go and get. So you see, he keeps looking up into the tree. There we go. You see, he's looking, trying to see if there isn't any sign. Madison, you say Thamba is the most photogenic cat in the bush. Well, I'd have to agree with you, Madison. He is absolutely beautiful. He's got this clean little face. There's no scarring yet. So he is as good as it gets, that's for sure. I wonder where he's going to go from there, because it looks like he might go further up into the tree. You see, he keeps looking around and staring, and he's getting ready. You can see those feet are almost looking as though they're going to pounce. Or are you going to come down again? See, sniffing around, looking, and look at those eyes. He's got these beautiful green eyes. There we go. Are you going to settle down there? I wonder. I'm trying to scan this jackalberry as much as possible to see if there isn't anything, but I don't see any sign of a carcass. Like I say, I'm pretty sure whatever was here has either been moved and put somewhere else, or unfortunately has been stolen. And it would explain the presence of the hyenas in this area. And, you know, coming back down again. He's quite a character, this little boy. He's all over the show. Oh, are you going to head away, or are you going to come back down? Look, you see, he's looking in all the trees. I think he knows that there was a carcass somewhere here, but he's trying to find it. He's trying to sniff around. You can see sniffing a branch now. I don't think he's going to have much luck, though. I think that carcass is long gone. Also, maybe Mom's scent mark there, or another individual scent mark. You can see how he's smelling along. Beautiful. In the morning light, every now and then you'll see he goes through that dappled light. Come on, Rusty. So Rusty doesn't want to go into reverse. There we go. Michael, you're wondering how big Thamba is in comparison to Hosanna. Well, Michael, it's difficult to say, because whenever you see them on their own, they both appear to be quite large, but at the end of the day, I think Thamba must be a similar size to Hosanna. I think Thamba's not that far off the size of Hosanna. His feet are definitely bigger, and his tracks are definitely bigger, but the actual body size, I think, given that there's 6 months in between them, that Hosanna and Thamba are about the same size. Now, are you going to come down for us? There he goes. You can see he's just moving on the edge there. Now, he looks like he might come back down this way. That is beautiful. I don't think he actually knows where he wants to go at this stage. He's just kind of meandering around, hoping for the best, hoping to find maybe Mom or something to eat. So I'm going to go back for you a little bit further. Oh, there he comes. Now, we're going to spend some more time with our beautiful boy as he walks along the banks of the Mulawati. And while we do that, let's go back to James, who I believe has found a different species of cat in the Masamara. Now look at this cat. He's another story. He's lying on his back, growling at some francolins that are walking past. You can see those long whiskers, and that's how he's watching the francolins over his shoulder. Instead of just turning his head, he's lying like a complete model pose as he watches the francolins move around behind him. There we go. What are you doing? That's better. You can actually see now. And the francolins are wise. They've seen him and have moved well clear of where he is. They're certainly not going to tangle with the little male leopard. They've decided that it's far better to be on the other side of the riverbed than on his side. And you can see he's still watching, and there's that curiosity that goes with the young adolescent leopard. They watch everything that moves. Unfortunately for him, though, he's been spotted, so there's no chance he's going to get anywhere near those francolins from where he is now. So I think he's just watching them to make sure that they don't make a noise and don't give him too much trouble. Although he looks like he might go after them. Douglas, you want to know how many kilograms of meat a male of Thamba's age consumes? Well, I'm not 100% sure. It's difficult because they don't measure these things as they get older, but he would potentially, I would say, in one sitting, is he going to sleep now? Hopefully not, because he's behind a clump of grass, but in one sitting I would say that he would probably be able to manage about, at his size, maybe 10 kilograms of meat, maybe a little bit more. He's not that big just yet. He's not the size of Tingana or Anderson or those guys, so he's not going to be able to eat too much just yet. In fact, he's probably the similar size to what Thandi would be, so 10 to 15 kilograms in one sitting would be quite a bit of meat. So that's almost 30 pounds that he'd be consuming in a single sitting. That's what would be my guess. It'd be difficult to measure exactly, though. Hopefully you can see he's just giving a look to those that are talking above him, which is, there's a vehicle that's on the top there that's watching him, so just watching them every now and then. Paula, you're wondering if there's any parts of a kill that a leopard will not eat? Well, we saw just now that he didn't eat the stomach content, so you'll find that they don't eat too much of the stomach area. Also with a leopard, their jaw power is not as much as that of a lion or as that of a hyena, and so you'll find some bones are too thick for them to go through. So generally leopards will eat all the muscle, they'll eat bits of the skin, they'll eat most of the internal organs except the stomach, because they often just drag the stomach out and leave it. Every now and then you'll see them eat the lining, but it's not that often. And then you'll find that they drop bits of leg. Although the older they get, if you get males like the size of Anderson, he'll crunch down hooves and legs and all kinds of things if it's small enough and it is brittle enough for him to actually break it. So there's not much that they don't eat. They pretty much eat 90% of the carcass. It's just there's a few bones and innards that they battle with and being able to get. Unfortunately, he's lying in just the worst place because I've got a big elephant hole in front of me, so the elephants have been digging for water here, and that hole is not going to be easy to negotiate, so it's right there, and it would be nice because I would have been able to just go around and we wouldn't have had all this grass in his face. But alas, this is where I have to stop because I can't really move any further than that, and I don't want to go on the track itself because I will chase him away if I do that. So we're just going to have to be content for a little bit, then watch him behind the grass. I don't think he's going to sleep right there. I'm pretty sure he's going to move around a little bit. He's been up and down all morning. You can see the tail is still wagging a little bit, and he's still very alert. It's not like he's sleepy in any way. Look, you see how he's watching? Now, I don't know what he's seeing. He keeps kind of looking at something, and he was right out in the sand, and all of a sudden he ran behind this bush and lowered his head as though he had seen something. So I don't know if maybe there's a hyena somewhere that's lurking on the top there, because he's looking right where he was earlier. Now, Rebecca, you say Thamba is still a cub at heart. Most definitely. He's still very youthful. At the end of the day, he's only just turned a year old, and we know that Shangila and Hosano, when they were a year old, just before Karula disappeared, they were very playful, and they had to become a lot more serious a lot quicker once Karula disappeared. So now he's still under the protection of Mom, so he is still very much a cub at heart, and you'll often find him running around and playing and up and down, and I would love to see him with Thandi, or just to actually find him when Thandi comes back, because it would be so nice to see what his relation with her would be and how he would move around with her if she arrived back after some absence, because I think he would be super playful and run and greet Mom. I don't think she would be too thrilled to have this big boy jumping on her and basically swatting at her and playing with her. I think she would probably growl and hiss at him because he's getting of that size and age, but I'm sure he will be very playful if Thandi had to arrive back. And I'm trying to look behind us what they could be. I just don't see anything. You're wondering if Thamba hunts by himself yet. Well, I'm not 100% sure, and unfortunately. I've never seen him with a kill of his own. I would imagine he does hunt for himself. I imagine he's killed a few francolins and maybe some small lizards and birds and those kind of things, but in terms of bigger animals, no idea. Unfortunately, I haven't seen him hunting anything yet, and we haven't seen him on a carcass by himself with no sign of mom, so difficult to say. It's whether or not he has hunted. I would imagine, though, that the answer is probably no, he hasn't hunted anything of his own just yet. And why would you want to when you've got a mom who is as successful as Thandi is when she hunts? She tends to be able to kill quite large animals and regularly. So it seems as though he's well fed. You can see he's not exactly skinny in any way, shape or form, and he's a big boy for his age. So, if you can rely on mom, it doesn't mean that you have to hunt yourself and waste the energy. Christy, you want to know how long leopard cubs stay with their moms? Well, Christy, it depends on mom. Mom can be a little bit on the grumpy side and short-tempered with her children, and she might chase them away a little bit early. So sometimes they get kicked away as early as 10 months, which is very rare, but most of the time it will be anywhere between sort of 14 months and 2 years. That's the average for leopard cubs. You'll find that the boys, though, tend to cling to mom as long as possible. So all the male cubs that I've been following in my time have always tried to stay with mom a little bit longer than what the female cubs have. So I would imagine Thamba's still got a few more months left with Thandi if she tolerates him. We know that she has been mating with Tingana, and it could be a false estrus that she's come into, that she's just trying to secure this newer territory that she's in and make sure that Tingana realizes that she's the female in this area and that Thamba is his son and not to harm her or Thamba, and that's why she's mating extensively with him around the Djuma area. Or it could be that she is starting to come into an estrus cycle, in which case she's going to leave Thamba fairly early. And if she does fall pregnant, remember it's about a 3-month process until she will give birth, which means that Thamba at that stage will be about 14 months anyway, so it falls within the average bracket of being left alone. But I would be surprised if she was in a proper estrus cycle. I think it's more just to do with her moving into a different area and just to try and secure that area for herself and make sure that she's basically looking after her young ones as well as herself, and make sure that those males that are in this area accept that she's now a female that resides within their section and within this section and doesn't become too aggressive towards her. These francolins are providing Thamba with a bit of bush television. Every now and then they squeak at him and he's just watching them and seeing what they're doing. I wonder if those hyenas didn't come back to where he was dragging that bit of innards around, because the way he was looking was straight up that way, and I wouldn't be surprised. Those stomach content often smell quite strongly, and if you're a hyena, you certainly will pick that up quite quickly. But does he not just have the most magnificent eyes? Those big dark markings. Oh, I need to just try and groom ourselves. It's amazing how similar he is to Thandi's first son, Wabayiza. Very similar, these two. What about Paddy? You want to know which of the cats show the best hunting skills? Well, I mean, in terms of cheetah, lion, leopard, or in terms of our leopard population we have on Djuma? But we'll address both. It depends on individuals. So some lions better than others, some leopards better than others, some cheetah better than others. We've seen Scott with his 5 cheetah brothers are insanely good at hunting, and their speed and their agility, they really are quite something. Same with some of the lions up in the Mara as well. Here in the Sabi Sands, in terms of our animals, Nkuhuma Pride seem to be absolutely lethal if they find buffalo. At the moment there's not many buffalo around, so their success in hunting is quite low because they're chasing a lot more fleet-footed animals like zebras, wildebeest, impalas, kudu, which are a lot harder to kill than the buffalo. The buffalo tends to be a little bit slower, and it allows allows the Nkuhumas to actually catch up with it, and then from there they seem as though their technique is really good, because most of the buffalo they hunt, they end up bringing down. So the Nkuhumas are really fantastically good at hunting buffalo. But in terms of our leopard population, funny enough, Hosanna seems to have grasped the concept of stalking really well. Most of the times he's either come incredibly close or he's managed to grab something, and I'm talking about lizards and terrapins and birds and those kind of things, and we know that he's caught a few impalas. And one day at Treehouse Dam we didn't even see him, and he was so close to catching an impala. He just came bursting out, and the impalas scattered everywhere, and it was very close indeed. So, you know, he seems to be mastering that concept. But for me, just in terms of the kills that I've seen and the sizes of them and the frequency of them, I think Thandi's got to be one of the best that we have on Djuma, because she's killed all kinds of large animals, waterbuck, kudu, varying other big things, and yet she's also does it frequently. So she seems to be having kills every 3-4 days, which is, you know, amazing feat. Sometimes even more than that. I've once had a situation with Thandi that I had her for a week, and we had her on a different kill every day for 7 days, which is quite something. The only other female that I've seen that is as effective and as efficient at hunting is Salahesh. So she's the one in the west. She's an absolute beast when it comes to hunting. I don't know, she just seems to be able to have that knack. Right, we're going to enjoy our little Thamba. He's starting to yawn, so hopefully it'll mean he'll move from behind his little grassy thicket. And while we do that, let's go back to Scotty D in the Masai Mara and see how it's warmed up and where he's off to for the rest of the morning. A pilot. Well, unfortunately we had a few gremlins just now, but isn't that just the most beautiful face? Look at those eyes, deep black around them. That's probably one of the reasons why his eyes are so striking, is because they're very light, and they've got this dark black sort of ring around them that really makes him stand out. And particularly when he looks up like that, he is absolutely beautiful. You can see that's a little pink nose and not one little scrape or scar on him at the moment. It will all change as he becomes a dominant male. He's certainly going to have issues with lots. Oh, there's the screenshot right there. Look at that. Look how he just held his gaze slightly. It's almost as if he was just posing for all of you at home. Now, I don't know what he keeps looking up at. There seems to be something that's moving around that keeps catching his attention above us. He's looking around. There's a little fly that's landed on him, so that certainly will be shaken off shortly. And there's lots of flies where we are, and the reason is that there's been a number of animals spending a lot of time here, and so there's a lot of dung, which a lot of these flies do land on. So I think they're going to start driving poor little Thamba mad in the next little bit. You can see already 2 of them on his nose, and there comes a third. There's going to be quite a few, and you'll eventually find that he'll shake his face. What have you seen? I can't see what he's watching. I've got like a steep bank right where I am, but he's definitely seen something. Maybe there's an impala or a bushbuck or something that's walking on top here that he's going to go and try and stalk. It'll be interesting. What are you going after? He's certainly running. There, he's chased something. What has he got? I don't know what he chased, but he went after something. I don't think he got it. Maybe it was a squirrel that he was chasing, but I can't see anymore because he's gone over a bank where we can't see what's happening. I'll have to ask Tax. But Kristen, you're wondering who's potentially Thamba's dad. Well, in all likelihood it's Tingana. There's a possibility, as outside chance, it could be Quarantine or Shivambalan, but basically Tingana was the only male that mated with Thandi as far as we know. Like I say, sometimes these females will move outside of their territories and mate with other males, so it does happen, but as far as we know, it was just Tingana that mated. But there is an outside chance that maybe Quarantine or even Shivambalana might have mated with her. The problem with that is that they're both related. They're both brothers of hers. Effectively, they have the same mother, so it's better if Tingana mated rather than those two. Now, I don't know where little Thamba disappeared. He went... Oh, there he is. He obviously missed whatever he was after. There he goes. You silly boy. Are you chasing squirrels, of all things? But you can see you're asking if he can hunt. There's just a prime example of a bit of inexperience. He didn't even stalk. He just literally went bounding up there. He came close. Whatever he chased, he was right behind because his stride lengthened quite a bit. And then he decided that that's it. And I wonder if he's not going to settle up top there. I'm going to try and see if we can keep up with him down below here. Now, of course, Rusty needs to go into low range to get out. of the deep sand. There's one nice thing about being in a Land Rover is that sand is not as much of an issue as what you would find. I wonder if he's going to come back down again. It looks as though he's going to carry on. So I'm going to just try and see if I can't keep up with him while Tax negotiates a deep hill. Now the nice thing about being in a Land Rover as opposed to the Land Cruiser is it's a much shorter, lighter vehicle, so much easier to negotiate these areas. Adele and Natalie, you're wondering if older leopards are still agile. Well, not as agile as their younger counterparts, and that's why it becomes difficult for them to hunt things like impala and varying other antelope species that we get in this area. As soon as they get a little bit older, they get a bit slower, and it's really difficult for them to keep up. And so you end up with a situation where they, unfortunately, really battle, and they'll have to go after slower things like porcupines and aardvarks and these little bit slower animals and heavier animals, and that's why we see Mvula hunting those things quite a bit. Now we're going to try and see if we can't keep up with Thamba, because he's just sneaked behind some bushes here and the other guys are trying to get past me, and there's no way to get past from where I am. So I'm going to just try to sneak forward slightly to give him a bit of space so that they can get past. Hopefully our signal will stay. Now, while we try and get around, let's go back to James and see how he's doing in the Mara. And then he didn't really feel that comfortable, and now he's back down, heading towards the Mulawati, where he seems to feel as though it's still not safe. You can hear there's a few Franklins making a noise at him as well. Shame, my boy. Is everyone shouting at you today? There he comes. Just telling Aubrey that he's coming out quickly. He should start coming right in front of us, and hopefully he's going to lie down on the bank here. You just see, it's amazing how those spots do blend in though. You can see why these environments along the Mulawati are the best place for these kind of spotted cats, is because they just disappear in this dappled light. There we go. Oh, look at that beautiful light. And you can see big fat belly as well. Valpine Wolfgirl, we want to know if Thamba will keep this eye color or will it change as he gets older. Well, Valpine Wolfgirl, more than likely the color of his eyes is going to get slightly lighter, if anything, but he should sort of stay the same. Remember, he's a year old now, so his eye color shouldn't actually change too much anymore. He's about what it should be for the rest of his life, which is really cool, because it is very unique and very pretty what he's got. I suppose not unique, I've seen leopards with eye color like that before, but it is just very pretty that he has those eyes like that, and he's certainly going to be a good looking boy when he's older, and I'm sure the ladies will love him as he becomes a big, dominant, powerful individual. I'm just going to try and see if we can't keep up with him. He's now crossed over the Mulawati, and it gets quite thick on the other side, so we'll have to try and see if we can't just stay with him as he moves around. There is a fallen over tree here that I've always wanted to see a leopard in, and I haven't, so I'm hoping that he's going to head towards that area, because it is absolutely beautiful where that is. Now I can't see where he's gone. He's somewhere just behind this thicket. I'm just trying to see where he's going to move out of. Seems to be doing quite a bit of back and forth at the moment, so I don't think he's quite sure where he wants to go. At the moment, I can't see any sign of him. So maybe let's try to see if we can't just sneak forward here and see if we can't find him somewhere in this particular area. He's just here in the front, so I don't want to block these people that are next to us. But he's just in front, sitting underneath one of the trees, having a little sniff around. And there's some elephants behind us that are trumpeting. I wonder if maybe Tundi is not on her way back and they've seen her and they're making a bit of noise now about her behind us. But we're going to stay with Thamba, and we're going to stay with this area and see if the Ellies arrive and if Tundi arrives. And while we do that, let's go back to Scott, who I think slowly but surely making his way home. Now I really hope Scott does manage to find a leopard lurking around there. I know he's been dying to see one, and I'm not sure if he has seen one yet in the Mara, but I'm hoping that he will get to see one soon. Now little Thamba is just having a nice rest, and his rest is about to be disturbed quite quickly, because just to our southern side, as you can see, he's just noticed that there is a herd of elephants walking straight towards him, so he's definitely going to be disturbed, although he's going back in that direction as though he wants to go and investigate what's going on. Are you going to go and have a look at the big elephants? A funny leopard, this. There we go, you can see, look how beautiful his markings are. He's got such a nice gold coat, which is quite typical of male leopards. You do see it quite regularly. Seb, I'm going to just try and turn so we can maybe get the elephants and the leopard in the same shot. Seb was saying to me that he really wants to see them. Seb, can I go back there? Because just now I hit a stump while I was reversing, and luckily we have a tire on the back of our cars, and that protected me from getting too much damage to the car, because I didn't see the stump at all, and it was quite a large one, which would have been a little bit of a hazard for me. Now if he goes onto my fallen over stump, I'm going to be so ecstatic, I don't think I'll even know. But look, there's the elephant. Look where he is, and look where the elephant is. He's just on the other side. So the elephant is just in front of him. Little Thamba is just on the right there. There you can see him going down, and then the ear of the elephant flapping behind the tree. Hold on, let me try and get a better view for you here, Seb. This is so cool. What are you doing? You're going to make that elephant very upset, big boy. Look, he's watching the elephant. There's the elephant, and there's Thamba. How cool is that? Seb, so that's what you were looking for. And he's not scared of this elephant at all. Look, now he's climbing into a tree. Hold on, let's try and see if we can keep up with little Thamba. What you doing, naughty boy? There's the elephant in the background. Chastity, you want to know if leopards hear elephants or hear higher pitched sounds like domestic cats? Well, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they pick up sounds just like what domestic cats would. They have very advanced hearing, and they would be able to hear most things. But I certainly think he's going to go onto my fallen over tree and watch these elephants, which is going to be absolutely spectacular. So I want to try and see if I can't get back down the riverbed. Although here's his tail just here. The elephants are slowly moving off. He's just in that thicket. Now, come on, go onto your fallen over tree for us and watch the elephants from your tree. I think he's a bit nervous to go right out in the open. I think he's preferring to rather be in the thicket. Although there he goes. I definitely think he's going to go down there. Look at this. This is so cool. We can have elephants and leopard in the same sighting. Wow. You can't stalk an elephant, you silly cat. Seb, I'm going to go forward a little bit for you. But there we go. How is that, Seb? That's what you were asking for. Wow. How cool is that? That's epic. Epic, epic, epic. Our little boy is watching the Ellies. And you can see the big fallen over tree just to the right, so he's not far, but I think he would prefer to be in a little bit of cover when he watches, and he's seeing the Ellies. The Ellies are having a little suckling session in the background there, so everybody's really quite chilled. Wow. I'm surprised at him. I would have thought he would have been a bit nervous of the Ellies and walked away. But it seems as though he's completely intrigued by these guys. He's actually come closer and is coming to see what they're doing. Now, I wonder if the Ellies are going to come close to this bank and whether or not he's going to react to them. Nope, they're going to start feeding. So we're all just going to be one big happy family at this stage. Now, elephants would be a lot more wary if they maybe picked up the scent of lions rather than leopard. Leopard they know is not too much of a threat. Lions they get very nervous of, and they probably find the elephants would be a lot more on edge. But leopard, even if they do see him, generally they'll just take a step towards him and kind of chase him off, but they're not really going to worry too much. Now, I know a lot of you say this is awesome and that this is magical. Well, it is. It's a special sighting. So maybe it's the perfect time for a one-word tweet. #SafariLive as to what you think about the sighting of Thamba and his new big friends that he's made today. There we go. I think they're going to disappear a little bit off to the right. I wonder if he's going to move to follow them. Thamba, that's an elephant more your size to make friends with. The big female I don't think is the best elephant to be looking for. He's just, you see how he keeps a lower profile? Now that they're up on the bank, he's now got his ears lower. He's trying not to show himself as much. So while he's intrigued by these elephants, he also doesn't want to give himself away. And at least from where he is now, he's got lots of options. Should an elephant try and chase him, he's got lots of trees he can go into. But generally with the leopard, the best thing to do when chased by elephants is actually to run into a thicket, not into a tree, because the elephants, if they see you in the tree, might get a little bit more aggressive and carry on trying to get to him. So better that he just goes down the riverbed and away from them. But let's see how the ellies go. They're still feeding on the banks, and I wonder if they're not going to come around towards where he is. Tristan, you want to know whether an elephant has ever shaken a leopard out of a tree? Well, I do know of a situation where a leopard killed an elephant calf. Now, the elephant calf was in some sort of distress already, and it seemed as though it had some issues with its legs, and the leopard ran in and grabbed the calf. Now, from there, the mother came and absolutely tried to grab this leopard, and she was furious, and the leopard bolted up into a tree, and this female just hit the tree at full speed and knocked the whole tree off and sent the leopard flying out of the tree. But that's the only time I've heard of it. I haven't heard of any other situation where a leopard has been chased out of a tree and always been hit out of a tree, except for that one. That female was just so angry. You can imagine she'd just given birth to this calf, and now a leopard came in and grabbed it, and her poor calf was dead, and she just took it out on both the leopard and the tree, and it was a serious display of power. But poor leopard went flying and then had to wait until the elephant moved away and then came back to the carcass to feed on it. But quite a epic scenario that played out that day. It was on the Sand River down in Kirkman's area. But there we go. Now, this elephant is going to get closer for sure. It's walking right on the edge, and little Thamba, you're going to have to move. Now the elephant's just seen him. But you can see the elephant's reaction to a leopard. It's going to come closer, but it's not really going to worry too much about Thamba. It knows that it's not a lion, and so in all likelihood that it's not a problem. And Lana, you say breathtaking? Well, most certainly. Thamba, you're going the wrong way because you're walking straight towards the elephants, you silly boy. He's now trying to sneak off, but he's walking in the direction of the elephants. They look at, this is amazing. So all the ellies are in front of me. Thamba off to my right, and there's a collision course about to happen. No, there he goes. He's running away now. Clever boy. Rather stay out of the way of the big ellies. You don't want to be involved in that. But he's going to continually be pushed by these elephants. They're going to make him move quite a bit. So I'm just trying to find a way around here that I can actually stay with Thamba, because otherwise we're going to end up losing him quite quickly with all these ellies around. Okay, girls, okay. Now, elephants are just getting a little bit on the grumpy side of life. Well, we managed to find our little boy Thamba again, and I'm very surprised at him. He's sitting now in amongst a big herd of elephants. There are elephants to his every direction at this stage, and he's just watching what's going on. He's super chilled under his little tree. You can see his camouflage is quite well, and it's amazing actually how good his camouflage is. I drove past him twice before we actually saw him lying under the bush, but there are elephants all over, and some are quite close. In fact, some are, I would say, within not even 10 meters of where he is, and he's just watching them go by. It's absolutely amazing. Now, this herd of elephants, we only saw a few arriving at first,
but I can tell you that there are lots of them inside this area, down the Mulawati. I would imagine this is that massive herd that was maybe at the dam yesterday afternoon, or one of those big herds that we've been seeing. You can see a whole bunch are starting to come, and I wonder if they're going to walk between us and him, which will be so cool. So we had him in the foreground earlier. Now it's time to have Ellie's in the foreground between him and us. And you can see there's some of the big females, and these are the ones that we saw originally. They went back down into the Mulawati. I don't know if it's going to prompt him to move, that he's going to be surrounded, but let's see how it goes. Hopefully that female doesn't head up towards where he is. Hello, girl. You guys said, look, they're going to, I wonder if he's going to run. I think he might. You can just see him under the bush there, and that elephant is walking straight towards him. He's just going to stand his ground. Look how he's lying flat. How is that? Thamba, you've got lots more nerves than I thought you did, my boy. Just underneath the elephant's tummy is a leopard. There he is. Just lying absolutely flat. You can see, look how well he camouflages. There we go. He's made a bolt for it. He's decided, no, I'm not going to hold my nerve with these guys. And off he's run. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to find him again, but how cool is that? I'm surprised at how long he held his nerve for. It's much longer than I thought he would have. Naughty little boy. But you can see, just as I did, there are elephants everywhere on my left-hand side. I'm not quite sure where I'm going to find him again. Hopefully he's going to run out onto the other side here, but he's going to have a tough time of it, because wherever he goes, he's going to find himself surrounded by elephants. Oh, come on, Rusty. Come on, Rusty. Turn. There we go. Now, I'm going to try and see if I can't catch up with little Thamba again as he tries to negotiate his way through this herd of elephants. And while I do that, let's go back to Scott and see if he's managed to get close to home yet.